Hey there. If you asked me a year ago when I was planning on retiring, my answer would have just been, well, I'm not working past 65. So, yeah, that was the extent of my timeline planning for retirement. But now it's a year later, and guess what? I am early retired and loving it. So, what led me to my unplanned early retirement? It was sort of a straw that broke the camel's back moment, but there were a few things, of course, that led up to that moment. First, for many years, I've been diligently saving for retirement and really took the time and effort to understand how to do it. And you know what? Once I did that, I learned it's not complicated at all, really. The main thing I did was invested in index funds, as I always heard they outperformed actively managed funds and have low expense ratios. So that's exactly what I did. I invested in growth, foundational, and value index funds. But don't invest in an index mutual fund in a taxable account. I learned a hard lesson there, and I'll include a link in the description for a video I made regarding that. But anyway, I saved diligently. I made sure my wife and I were socking money away in our 401ks and that we were for sure always putting enough money away to get the full employer matching, as that's basically free money. We started IRAs and Roth IRAs, and when our income grew over time, as our careers grew and my wife started her own business and we started maxing out what we could contribute to those funds each year, we then opened up a taxable brokerage account for whatever else we could save. Now, this sounds like we were part of the FIRE movement, but no, not really. That wasn't what I was planning for, even considered myself a part of. I just saved whenever we could, but also not affecting our lifestyle. So we weren't living like monks, but I have to say, we also didn't spend money on things that were unnecessary either. Like, have we ever owned a luxury car? Absolutely not. We never felt the need for it. And not to say our vehicle wasn't nice, we just didn't need to have our car be a luxury car. We could have moved and bought an even bigger house, but we were fine where we were and happy. So, anyway, as time went on and I was investing, and I saw our money grow and grow and grow, because with investing, it's all about time and letting the magic of compounding work for you. And that's exactly what happened. And in the back of my mind, I knew if I actually sat back and ran the numbers, it would have been possible for me to maybe retire early. The other thing going on in the background is I had been working in healthcare IT for the past 30 years. And for most of my career, I was involved in high stress work for many years that, quite frankly, was really burning me out. I was tired of the endless meetings, the politicalness of working for large organizations, the constant changes in the software with upgrades, and just having to deal with all that. I no longer had any passion or patience for it. So this was the other thing going on in the background. Then last summer, the straw that broke the camel's back was my boss saying something that one of the consulting firms folks we were working with had said about me, that I wasn't helping with a certain project as much as I wanted, which really made me angry because I couldn't help with that project as I was already involved with a couple of other projects that were taking up all my time, which I'd explained to these consultants several times in meetings. So in any event, after that meeting, I said to myself, do I really need to be doing this anymore? I know my investments had done really well for quite some time. And like I said earlier, it was in the back of my mind that maybe I could retire early. So I got serious. And after that moment, I found out about Bolden.com, which is an online retirement planner. And I've included a link in the description. So I started plugging in my investment assets, our passive income from a rental property we have, and I ran it through their Monte Carlo simulations and was coming out with a 99% probability that we would never run out of money. And this was with a pessimistic outlook, because in Bolden.com, you can choose optimistic, average, and pessimistic assumptions for the Monte Carlo simulations. And 99% is overly conservative because investment advisors shoot more for around 85%. Then I used Bolden.com to run Monte Carlo simulations for the absolute worst case scenarios, like terrible stock market performance for the next 10 years and no social security income, and I still came out looking great. So while I was doing this, I distinctly remember thinking to myself, what the heck am I doing continuing to work in a job that I hate? For what? To keep on making money to save it when all the numbers are saying I'm fine. It just didn't make any sense. Life is just too short. But I didn't want to stop there. I wanted professionals to validate the numbers I was seeing. So most of my investments were with E-Trade, and since I have a large number of investments with them, I can get the service of professionals at no cost to me. So I sat down with a couple of them for a couple of meetings, gave them the details of my assets. They ran scenarios with even more sophisticated software and came to the same conclusion. So, man, when I had that validation, I was thrilled. That was so exciting. But I didn't just tell my employer right away. I had to do some planning. First, my wife and I did annual wellness exams. I did a colonoscopy. Basically, while we were on my employer-sponsored health plan, I wanted a clean bill of health before we retired. I also got a root canal taken care of, which was fun, but the colonoscopy was even more fun. Just kidding. So I waited to have all that in place and taken care of. Then I basically decided I wouldn't retire until December, as it was just cleaner financially for financial planning purposes, and plan it so that my PTO payout would be paid by the end of December, and I ended up retiring in mid-December of 2024. This also aligned well with a big project I was working on and ended at the same time and before I started something new. I only gave my employer a month's notice, and only after we had done all the health stuff that I was afraid if we didn't, there was a risk because employment is at will that they could just tell me to leave. Then I'd be without health insurance before we had finished all of our appointments up. Not that I thought they would really do that, but you can't take your chances and you just never know. And bottom line is you really always have to look out for yourself. So that's it. That's my early retirement story. So I hadn't particularly aimed to retire early. It just kind of organically happened. And there was a watershed moment that made me really get serious about it and crunch the numbers. Anyway, if you can do it, I highly recommend early retirement. It's truly wonderful. I'd have to say my favorite part is zero stress. I had so much stress when I was working that led to insomnia, overeating, so it was definitely negatively affecting my health. I created this brand new channel, Early Retired and Real, to share experiences about early retirement from someone living it. So if you're thinking about early retirement, subscribe so you can see what it's like before you take the leap. Or if you've already retired, you may want to watch just to identify with someone else that is going through the same experience. Please give a like and subscribe. It sure helps this little brand new channel grow, and it just takes a little moment of your time, and I sure do sincerely appreciate it. I also have a new channel that I launched in February called Early Retirement Roadmap, where I provide educational content on both preparing for and thriving in early retirement. Versus this channel, I'm sharing my personal experiences only in early retirement. So check that channel out too, or when you're on the go, Early Retirement Roadmap is also available on all podcast platforms. Well, that's all for now. This is Mike Upland, early retiree at age 55. Take care and make the most of today.